for me, Jake, it's made me stronger. And I'm blessed and I'm fortunate at this part of my life that I know things aren't permanent. Things are always changing. And there's a lot that I've learned through this pandemic. And I just want to share it with everybody.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father, six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gene, how's it going?
Jake, I'm doing great. And you know why I'm doing great? Because
Hit
it's me and you today, bro. It's just
a special edition of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast.
In the house. And we've got a lot of lessons. We've learned a lot. And the funny thing is, we will continue to learn because an expert is just somebody who is always constantly learning, because there's always stuff coming out right now. And the big topic is the COVID-19 pandemic. And there are a lot of lessons that we're learning, that we're going through. And for me, Jake, it's made me stronger. And I'm blessed and I'm fortunate at this part of my life that I know things aren't permanent. Things are always changing. And there's a lot that I've learned through this pandemic. And I just want to share it with everybody. It's all up here, right? It's all those limiting beliefs that I used to have that, and what I like to call it, it's really one of those energy blocks that's external. We can't control what's going on, right, Jake? We can only control how we process it in our minds. And for me, don't want to jump in here, but for me, the first thing that I really learned about the pandemic is that I've got the best partner in the world.
Oh, represent. Respect that.
You know why, bro? Because everybody out there, you heard of PPP, right? We got slammed with it. My partner gets on the horn with the bank. I literally see about 10,000 pages of documents spread all over the place. Not once did I hear my partner say, I got too much work to do. Can you help me? All he did was send over an email and says, Gino, can you sign these couple pages? I said, sure, love to. He didn't complain one bit. He sucked it up. He wasn't a buttercup, and he did the work. And that's what a true partner is, because we are feeding each other's families, and we're not looking at who's doing more work or who's doing less work. It's all about our core values. And to me, I always knew that I had the right partner, but that was just a reaffirmation of a reaffirmation of a reaffirmation. And we never point at each other and say, can you do this and can you do that? It's just known that when things get tough, we try not to buckle. We try to help each other. We try to support each other. And the thing from what I've learned, the other thing is you need an accountability partner. And that's what I'm always talking about with Jake and Gino. You need somebody out there who's going to hold you accountable. Now, Jake does it not only for his family, but he does it for the entire Rand fam. You know, big shout out to the property management team. They're going through a lot of crap right now trying to collect rents. He's doing his bit to try to help them. He's doing his bit to help the Jake and Gino team. He's doing his bit to help the Rand Cap team. And that's what partners are there for. We're not there to say, I'm doing more work or I'm doing less work. You should find a partner who wants to work as hard as you, who has the same values as you do. And for me, that was the most glaring thing that I saw. And I probably never even mentioned it to Jake. I never even said anything because he knows. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. When you're going through this right now, how are you reacting to it? How are you supporting your partner? And how is your partner supporting you? And for me, that was one of the biggest things. I was like, wow, I've got a great partner. We're going to pull this through. He's always positive. You know, we do bitch and moan a lot about what's going on. But at the same time, we're thinking about what we need to do. Not about, oh, well, it was me and we have all these people to pay. No. How are we going to get the employees paid? How are we going to collect the rent? How are we going to get our education students motivated? And that's what we're thinking about. So everybody out there, assess your partnership, make sure it's the right one. And if it's not, start looking elsewhere.
So I think, so today we're talking about the lessons learned from COVID-19. So I'm going to say the first one is don't get caught in the media merry-go-round, because so many people are sucked in to this. It's almost like a tornado sucking everything in around it. You know, it's pulling everything in. It's like this major tractor beam. And shout out to the entire team. You know, Gino alluded to the point. We had a war room going on. We had documents flying here and there. We tried, pushing all the entities through because we have over 20 businesses. And then all of a sudden, like at the last minute, they cut all the entities out, and so we had to just do our operating, our management businesses. But it was insane trying to pull that through. And the key was we have a great team. We have A players on the team, and everyone said, you know what? Let's get into action, because we knew that the action was going to lead to our results. So everyone went into massive action. action. We put our heads down and we were grinding, and we didn't get stuck in that merry-go-round with the media and feeling like, oh, woe is me, and trying to feel sorry for ourselves. We took action because we knew there was a limited window. There was only, X amount of funds. I know they replenished it. I think it might have run out again already, but
2 minutes. It ran out in 2 minutes, bro.
Holy shit, that's crazy, man. But it's like, you can't get caught up in the media merry-go-round. You gotta, focus on action and taking care of your team. I think that's lesson number one.
So for me, well, that's lesson number two, because I said lesson number one is a partnership. Evaluate your partnership and make sure your partner's strong. And from that, don't get caught in the merry-go-round. I think you want to call this the third one, or part 2A. Don't be out there judging people. Okay, this is what I've learned. We all have our own opinions, right? I'm a small business owner. If I want to reopen my business because I can't feed my family and I have to pay the rent and I'm not getting PPP funds, you can't be out there yelling at me and screaming at me because I've got to do that. And on the other hand, if I see somebody who's really afraid of the pandemic and, who's lost a loved one to it, I really can't go and judge them. We're not here to judge others. Take care of your own house and worry about yourself, and let the judging to others. Now, that's so much easier said than done, because Jake and I have been out there and we've been complaining a lot also. But really look internally and try not to judge others, because that gets you nowhere. That gets you bitter, it gets you angry, and it pulls your level of energy down to the anger and to the fear and to the victimhood, which is catabolic energy. And what do? What happens when you have catabolic energy? Nothing happens, because you're afraid. Crystal clear thoughts come out of it. That's why I said the partnership is really important, because you want your partner to give you some anabolic energy to raise your level of energy. All of a sudden, you have ideas, you have thoughts, you have powerful energy, and you can actually go ahead and say, you know what? We had a podcast scheduled this morning. We'll do another one, instead of, what? I hate this. What are we going to do? So that's why is what allowed me to do that. And it allows me to get to work every day and pull 12 to 14-hour work days, because I'm trying not to judge others. I'm not trying to get in that merry-go-round that Jake talked about, and really staying positive throughout this whole event.
Gino, it's so interesting that you bring this up, because there's been so much public shaming and people are trying to guilt. Everyone uses this guilt lever to try to get their way with people.
Yep.
And I was speaking to our regional manager, Jennifer, the other day, and she decided to send her son back to his daycare. And she said, she was talking to, different friends about it, and they said, oh, you're okay with that? And she said she saw the look in their face, which was essentially a public shaming. They were trying to say, oh, you're putting your kid, out there and doing this. It's really sad, guys. But so many, people out there are trying to, they're doing it in this sort of like subtle way, but ultimately the message is getting pulled through. They're just not saying it. So I think staying as positive as you can, and to Gino's point, not judging and trying to get caught in this public shaming. Shout out to Jennifer, because she turned me on to someone, Brene Brown, who's her whole work is based in shaming of others. So it's trying not to shame others because you believe or feel a certain way. It's being objective and trying to stay less critical.
So I love that. So what people say is about them. What you hear is about you. So if I was Jennifer, I would look at those people and say, hey, you know what? That's all you. If you're afraid, that's fine. The way I'm taking it is, I've got a job. I've got a responsibility. I need a little bit of break. I've been home with my child for 6 weeks. My husband's going back to work. I'm just making, suggestions.
No, you're nailing it, though.
And why judge me? I mean, there's hundreds of cases, few hundred cases in Knox County. It's pretty safe.
No, there's 28.
That's what I'm saying. If you really look at the science, if you really truly drill down and look at the science, she's got to get on with her life. We have to start all over again. So she's the brave one out there. If you ask me, all those governors that are opening up right now with the science, because when you're in California and there's 1,000 deaths and there's 40 million people, the science says we have to open up and do it wisely and do it smartly. We have to, sooner or later. So I give a shout out to her. So I think that's amazing that she's doing that, and she's being one of the brave ones. So, and I just want to give a shout out to the rest.
She's being a leader too.
That's right. Whether it's Claire, whether it's Chelsea, whether it's Shannon, they're all rock stars out there. They're all getting the work, and they're all doing a great job. So, I mean, the next lesson is assess your team. I mean, we can throw that in there. What kind of team members do you have? Are they willing to buckle down? Is there fear? Yes, there should be fear, because fear is uncertainty. But Jake and Gino are leaders, and we have to work through that fear. I wrote an article, and I said, you have to be like Jake-like. You have to run through a brick wall now. Now's the time to run through the brick wall. Now's the time to actually have the vision and to say, this is what we need to do. Now's the time to look at your systems, look at your people, and look at your culture, and work on those three right now. Because when things are going great, there's not really that much to do. But as things start to, spiral downward, Are your systems and your processes and your people, are they great? And do you need to do work? I've been constantly educating myself, and I'm doing more during this pandemic because I want to learn more. I want to become, as Jake likes to say, the Chick-fil-A of, of apartments when it comes to customer service. And how do we do that? Well, we need to do a better job with communication. So for me, this pandemic has allowed me to sit back and do some more education on our businesses.
So, Gino, it's great that you brought that up because you just gave a shout out to all the property management leaders, but also
Right.
the growth mindset. And I said this last night on our call with Mikey T. Mike Taravella on our RAM Partners team has used this time as an opportunity to expand his mind. He's been constantly learning, he's been constantly growing, and he's been working on the business because we have an opportunity. So I applaud Mike because that's what we have to do. What's the opportunity in front of you right now? Okay, things are shut down. Mike might not be out there looking at properties and looking at deals right now because the world's more restricted, but he's taking the opportunity in front of him to grow the systems, to grow the business, and to grow himself. So that's what I think, when things like this pop up, don't get caught. I keep going back to that media merry-go-round. Don't get caught up in the BS. Focus on what you can control and growing yourself as a person.
So I love that. Let's piggyback what the property management team is doing with Chelsea and Jennifer. Virtual leasing, virtual tours. All of a sudden, we didn't have that 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. We created something out of thin air, out of necessity, because we are an essential business. But how does an essential business work if you can't have the offices open? So, turn a problem into an opportunity. That's another lesson that I've learned. I've always known that lesson, but apply that lesson in this instance. And it's just a tool. It's just a technology. You still want the leasing agent. You still want the property management. You still want the human touch in property management because that's what it's all about. We have residents and we want to be able to serve them. But if you can't serve them or they want comfort, or, hey, you know what? Let's look at different platforms. We're going on using Tenant Turner right now, and we're using these virtual tours and virtual leasing to help in this particular point, and it's going to carry over. And what I love about this more than anything is what this is setting a precedent for our team, because when something happens that doesn't go right, we can sit down, brainstorm, and come up with a solution. Not go in the corner and lie in the fetal position all curled up because we don't know what to do, right? We take action, and that was the biggest thing. Out of nowhere in the last 6 weeks, we've come up with an amazing process, Jake. We didn't have it, and that is truly a testament to hard work and to your leadership.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with the team because our business has changed on the fly. And to your point, we didn't curl up and die. We stayed in the game. We got even more engaged. And I know, from speaking to you, it's ever since this stuff hit, and I left, I was at your house when this really got crazy in February. It's been 12 and 14-hour days over and over and over again because that's what entrepreneurship is. When something changes or something gets broken, you have to pivot and you have to keep going. Otherwise, you get gobbled up. And that's just the bottom line, or you don't have a business anymore. It's not easy. It's not for everybody. But that's what it takes if you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to operate at a high level in business.
The next one, Jake, is let's be grateful. For me, once it started about 3 weeks ago, I went and started using my gratitude journal in the morning. When I got up in the morning, I was really grateful because my wife said to me yesterday in a walk, we really don't have all the freedoms that we do have, huh? They can shut down the beaches. They can
creepy
quarantine and stay at home. So what we have right now, be grateful for that. And when you're grateful and you start your day off from gratitude, the day can only get better. Because what you focus on grows. So if you're thankful for your health, you're thankful that your family's safe, you're thankful that you have a few bucks in the bank, you're thankful that you have an amazing team, you're thankful that you live 300 feet from the beach. I'm thankful for so many things, right? If you go from that position, your day is only going to get better. But if all you're doing is focusing on the negativity and focusing on what's going wrong, then what's going to happen? That's what your focus is on. So I challenge everybody out there. Pen and paper in the morning. Start writing down while you're grateful every day. And you know what? I know it's hard because my boy over there hates journaling. It might not work for him, but maybe you just talk.
I have my own form of journaling.
It works. It's hard because for me, even it was just the attitude and the habit of getting it started. So the way I do it, Jake, I get up in the morning, brush my teeth, turn on the shower. By the time the shower gets hot, I'm writing down a few little things, jump in the shower, come back out, and I finish the journaling. So at least it becomes habitual that I get it done every single part of the day. And it's important. I guarantee everybody, if you start out there and you start to be grateful in the morning, you're going to be like, wow, today's not going to be too bad.
Yeah, and I've even used it as an opportunity with my daughter. I've started, different positive mindset techniques with her and incantations, and it's been something that's spawned out of this. And look, I think that's stuff she's gonna be able to carry with her for the rest of her life. So it's always taking what's given to you, and what'd you say a minute ago? Taking lemons and making lemonade, right?
That's right,
So.
bro. Put a little bit of honey in there. No sugar, just a little bit of honey. Jake, the next one is, from Robert Cialdini's book, Influence. You have to commit and be consistent. And this is one of the things that I really has been disheartening to me about this whole pandemic, about our leaders. They're not being consistent with their message. And if we don't know something as a leader, don't say something like, we're going to have 2.2 million deaths. That really scares the crap out of people, and your modeling is way off. And then all of a sudden we have 60,000. Now that's freaking awesome. That's amazing. But when you say something like that, and then you say masks work, masks don't work. The heat works. The heat doesn't work. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I know we don't know a lot of things, but if you're not being consistent in your message, everyone's going to be afraid. There's going to be uncertainty. So as Jake
And a lack of confidence and trust.
Exactly. So leaders need to show some optimism, whether one drug's going to work.
And more transparency.
Exactly. So there's a lot you said there. You want transparency. Sorry. You want consistency. No, dude, you're right. You're shotgunning me, which is great because that's the truth. You want transparency. You want consistency. Be consistent with your message. If you don't know something, just don't say it. You don't know how many people, because when you're planning for 2 million deaths, and then all of a sudden there's 60,000, there's going to be a massive response. Should you shut down all the hospitals and just make stuff elective, right? Essential. I don't know. I think things might have changed a little bit, right? So I think as leaders, Jake and Gino, we had a meeting in the beginning of Q2. We were as positive as possible because we didn't want to instill the fear in our team members. And should there be fear? Should be optimism. I think there should definitely be optimism. But you want to lay out a plan, to create the plan for what's going on. And like Jake said, be transparent with your investors, be transparent with your residents, be transparent with your team. Really important, but be consistent with your message and commit to whatever you're going to do.
And I think everything that Gino just said there, he lives it. He leads by example, and he lives the values that we set forth in our company. The transparency was there, the leadership was there. So I think it's, he's bringing this stuff up because, look, we, operate a business. We have a lot of people that we're responsible for, and we act in a different manner. And so that's where the frustration comes from. And the other realization that I've been having over the last few weeks is that we're all multifamily investors, on this show. I think that's very clear. The point is with multifamily, it's time. You can't have these knee-jerk reactions. Everyone knows the longer you stay in this game, the better off you're going to be. Some of the oldest and most tenured experienced as investors that we've interviewed, their biggest regret is selling their deals. Okay, these things, if you buy good assets, they're going to build in value over time if you manage them properly, you buy them right, and you finance them right. So I think the thing with multifamily is having a long-term vision, staying in your lane. We say this time and time again, and riding out the storms because, look, rent's coming in, not as fast as we'd like right now, but we know this is going to pass and value is going to be created, over time because, look, stock market, I think, every 10 years now you're seeing it. It's getting beat up. It's this roller coaster. People that really look into it, do they want to be on that roller coaster or do they want hard assets that are going to pay them every month? So I think people's eyes are going to be even open more to multifamily as we pull through this. So.
Jake, I'm going to list out a couple more lessons before we get into the multifamily lessons, because I think the life lessons and the business lessons are just as important, maybe more important than the multifamily lessons. The next one is to stick to your core values and your mission statement. And if you don't have core values and a mission statement, now's the time to get rolling and get one set up, because ours is people first. What does people first mean? I've been doing weekly Ask Me Anythings with the Jake and Gino community because our people come first. Because if they have any questions, because the financing is changing, because the landscape or the buy rate is changing, we're learning and we want to add a tremendous amount of value to our students. The property management team is the same thing. We do end of day huddles. At the end of the day, it's great. We get to share our wins with the team. We get to share what's going on. I see the pain point and the stress that they have, so I can be more empathetic to what's going on with their situation, and then we can always brainstorm and get things together. So I think if you don't have core values, figure out where your core values are and start focusing on them.
Gino, what was the first thing that you said when this whole thing came out? We came out, we had a presentation to the entire RAN fam, and we said, look, people first. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure no one loses their job and no one's affected financially from this. That was our commitment. That's living your values.
And the commitment is we were working on this. Another shout out to Jen McGee, right? Big shout out, because we had healthcare coming out. We're rolling it out next month during this pandemic, and that was the people first. We live the people first. So for us, it wasn't even an idea or a thought not to do it. We're going to figure out how to deliver on that. So for us, living the core values is important. If you don't have core values or a mission statement, start working.
Yeah, we could have very easily said, we're going to lay people off, or sorry, we're going to delay healthcare now. But no, we doubled down and we committed to the values.
And Jake, we should have mentioned this in the very beginning. I think another lesson is don't overreact, right? Don't overreact when it first started out. A lot of gurus out there, a lot of people out there were cutting heads off. And you know what? If you've got a big organization and huge overhead, that might be the case. But I think if everyone just calms down, I love the congressman. I forget what his name is. He's a Navy SEAL. He's got the patch on his eye. I forget what his name was. I love it because I want to give him credit for this. Calm begets calm. Panic begets panic. I think what helped Jake and I is we didn't call each other up and start panicking and start saying, what are we going to do? We just assessed the situation, let everything simmer for a little while. Nobody knew where the ship was going. And let's just assess it. Let's not fire anybody. Let's not overreact. Let's see what happens. Because April, when we started out April, everyone was afraid for April collections. Well, April has been good. May is now the same thing. I think.
I know, it's like, well, but no, it's not going to be. It's going to be May. Then it's going to be June. Like,
yeah, you
got to go to
know.
work.
So let's just stay calm with the situation and let's try to assess it. Because when you're calm, like I keep coming back to you, you can think more clearly. You have more ideas, and you won't overreact and quote unquote make. You do not want to make a choice or judgment or call or knee jerk from something that you just overreacting on. So I think that's really important. Jake, the next one is strengthen customer service. I think that this might be multifamily, but I think this is just business wide. Right now, the customers that you have, you need to continue to serve those customers, and you need to know what they need in their lives and how to serve them.
Yeah, Gino, I think one of the interesting thing was we weren't necessarily ready to start improving our customer journey, but the same thing that we were talking about with Mikey T, we buckled down, we had a meeting, and said, hey, there's an opportunity right now, how can we get it done? And it was supposed to be a Q3 priority, but we found a way saying there's an opportunity now, let's get it in. So I think, just another shout out to the PM team. Hey, Gino, before we get into the remainder of the property management improvements and the multifamily improvements, let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsor. Gino and I are super excited to tell you about the audiobook version of The Honeybee, which was recently released.
The Honeybee tells the story of Noah, a disappointed, disaffected salesman who feels like his life is going nowhere until the day he has a chance encounter with a man named Tom Barnum, the beekeeper. In his charming, down-home way, Tom, the bee man, teaches Noah and his wife Emma how to grow their personal wealth using the lessons he learned from his beekeeping passion.
In the audio version, Gino and I sat down for an exclusive interview after each chapter where we elaborate on the stings we felt throughout the business, the importance of scaling up, and how we've been able to create multiple streams of revenue.
For more information and to get your copy of the audiobook, visit jakeandgino.com/honeybee.
All right, we are back. Now, Gino, let's dive into some of the multifamily specific items that we learned from the Corona.
So for me, what I love to say is, don't move the goalpost. We're constantly moving the goalpost here, right? And
yes.
Everyone knows what I'm talking about, right? And when you're in multifamily, you're in a business, when you say something, do what you say and say what you do. Are you going to close in 30 days? Close in 30 days, right? Commitment and consistency. And I think that's part of the business. And that's multifamily real estate. We're going to get into the numbers real quick, real soon. But when you're analyzing a deal, don't pencil whip that deal, right? You know the deal. Does the number make sense? Don't be moving the goalpost on that. And don't be moving the goalpost on your vendors, on your partners. When you make a decision and you sign a contract, you shake hands, you live by it.
Yeah. And you know who's been classic right now is Fannie and Freddie. You're going through deals right now. It's like, oh, well, it's going to be 6 months additional principal interest. Now it's going to be 12 months. And now it's going to be 70% loan to value. Now it's going to be 65% loan to value. They want zero risk right now. So they're levering this to beat down buyers. And they're basically going to give money to folks if they're buying it at like 60 cents on the dollar. Literally, they're buying something at 60 cents on the dollar. So if anything happens, there's zero risk and they can get out of it for more than they have into it. So
Jake, what does that do? That exudes no confidence. If you're moving
Exactly.
goalposts on people, people don't want to do business with you. They don't want to deal with somebody who's not being consistent in their lives. So just assess yourself and assess your life. Are you being consistent?
So
The
it's
next,
opening the door for the community banks right now. I'm telling you.
oh,
So
community banks, 100%. The next one is to be capitalized. If nothing else, Jake, now all of a sudden, people who have money in the bank can weather the storm. So now when you're underwriting, maybe going forward, you need to put a little bit of money in the bank on the side for something like this to pop up in the future, because you're going to have other pandemics, you're going to have other disasters, you're going to have other stuff going on. So this is just cause for us. We're pretty fortunate that we have CapEx reserves on the side. So maybe it's now when you're underwriting a deal, you need to put a little bit of extra money on the side to make that deal work. You may need to get a smaller return up front, and then maybe just have to draw that money out and give it to the investors afterwards. But that cushion or that comfort of having money on the side is going to allay a lot of issues for you.
yeah, and I think it goes for every aspect of your life because the economy has been roaring. We're on a 10-year run, so everyone gets fat and happy and comfortable, and then bam, they get hit by the black swan. Every component of your life, you need to take 100% responsibility for it, regardless of what it is. You're the end of it. Okay, you're responsible for everything that happens to you. So you need to do things. You need to have the money in the bank. You need to be taking 100% responsibility for everything that you do. And so if you have businesses, maybe sexier to have a little bit of larger payout, spend a little bit more money, go do this, go do that. You need to have the money on the side. So if the next time something like this happens and there's this, massive overcorrection or the economy collapses, whatever, you're going to be poised in a position to weather the storm.
Jake, this next one is really personal to me, because when we first started out, we were always preaching on let's buy in actuals. Let's buy in actuals. Now, what does that mean? Buying on actuals. What are the numbers? The numbers can lie. Now, we're talking about this COVID death, and I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial. Maybe it's not, but it's the truth. Now, when somebody dies during COVID, they don't know whether they died of a comorbidity. They don't know if they died with COVID, without it. Doctors are being pressured now to say that people are dying with COVID. So is that an actual number of death? We don't know. The numbers can lie. They can make up numbers to lie.
Well, Gino, if you were going to, say, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die from this in your country, you get it wrong. I think there's going to be pressure to beef those numbers up a little bit.
But what I'm saying is this is exactly the same thing with real estate and with multifamily. The numbers can lie. Look at the T12. If they're saying they're doing $100,000 a month in rent, in revenue, but then month 1 is 100, but month 11 is 92, well, you're doing 100 on average, let's say, but the numbers can lie. Make sure you dive into those numbers. Make sure you're actually looking at what you're doing. And Jake, I'll let you talk about this. Set the buy right criteria, the buy right, the manage right, and the finance right. Those are all criteria. Make sure those numbers don't lie, because like I said, as our master coach Bill Ham likes to say, if you're pencil whipping a deal, you're trying to make that deal work, you're gonna get
Gino,
hammered.
what's pencil whipping?
Pencil whipping, you got a pencil right there. You're whipping out the deal, and you're making those numbers. You're fudging those numbers, and you're trying to make the deal work. Don't fall in love.
Annualizing the T3.
Exactly. Fall in love with the numbers. Exactly. Yeah. All of a sudden you got some expenses there, and you're fudging the expenses when they should be $4,800 per door. And you're like, you know what? I'm a rock star. I can run this thing at $4,300 a door. No. Oh, and property taxes aren't $20,000 because I'm buying it. They're going to go up to $32,000. Do not pencil whip a deal. You can make the numbers lie in your mind. And Jake and I, this is one of the things one of the things we did before I let Jake jump into that. We only bought 2 deals last year. I was so frustrated, and I wanted to pencil whip so many deals. All right, but now
this could be a rap song. We got to do a rap song about pencil whipping a deal here.
And it was like one of those things, Jake, where I was just frustrated, as our team was. But thank God we didn't do and go out and invest in those deals, because we are ultimately the fiduciary for our families, fiduciary for our investors, fiduciary for our company. So we did not, because I'm telling you, all those times we said practice, buying actuals, there were no deals out there that we could buy.
No one wanted to hear it either.
Made sense. Yeah, they were crazy. And all of a sudden, like my wife likes to say, that pendulum is swung all the way back now. Now, Fannie and Freddie are like, like you said, you got to have all these reserves in. You're going to have really low LTV, and now they're looking
financing
really hard
contingency. What?
Exactly. So hammer on the buy right criteria. What we talk about.
Yeah, no, I think the key here is, especially right now, if you're going to be closing on a deal in May, June, July, whatever the case may be, buying on actuals. Look at the T12. Make sure you know what's coming out. But also, I want to see over these next few months, I want to see bank statements. I want to see actual income coming into the bank. And if you can't supply that, we don't have a deal. And that's okay too, because I'd rather buy something that I know what's actually going on, how it's going to perform, than get into something that's going to be a headache. It's just not worth it. The other thing is, so many people, and we've been to conferences before, and we've said, how many people are using rules of thumb, when analyzing their deals, and all these hands go up. Gang, we can't. There's a lot of money on the line. We have to do the work. That means doing an actual budget, line by line. What is it going to cost you to run that deal? What's the income currently? Okay, we want to know what's that T12 income, and then look at the actual cash that's hitting the bank. Okay, we don't want pro forma BS. We don't want some accrual BS. We want actual cash money hitting the bank, because that's what matters. So you got to be looking at these things very close. And then the financing right now. Get ready. Someone's gonna have to pay more. Either if you're doing an agency deal, Fannie or Freddie are asking for 12 months of additional principal and interest. Who's picking that up? Is there a discount from the seller, or are you the buyer willing to pay more right now? That's something that you have to ask yourself. So, I think there's a lot of things changing. It doesn't mean don't do deals right now. Just go into these things eyes wide open and make sure that you're not getting the wool pulled over your eyes because you're hungry to get a deal done.
The last one, Jake, I think this is really important for all the listeners out there. Whatever business you're in, continue to cultivate the relationships you have, because guess what? Brokers are calling you back now. And it's your duty to pick up the phone, to text, to email, to call, and to learn about the brokers. Don't just use them as the vehicle for a deal. Really get to know them. Get to be friendly with them. Get to find out what they're looking for. Let them know a little bit about you, and start to build rapport with that, and continue to build those relationships in any aspect of your business. Because real estate, when it comes down to it, it's all relationship-based business. Whether you're in single-family homes, whether you're buying apartments, whether you're doing self-storage, the deals come from other people that you know. So get out there, start pounding the pavement, and start building those relationships.
Yeah, and this is the time right now. You want deals right now. You think there's going to be some discounts had from this coronavirus. You gotta be making those relationships now. You gotta be doing everything you can to get in front of brokers, Zoom calls, analyzing their deals, whatever it takes. This is the time to be doing it if you want a deal in the next few months.
Jake, I just want to wrap this up by giving a little story about myself and about the restaurant, and how I feel a pain for all the small business owners out there. I had the restaurant for 25 years, and I mentioned this on another podcast, but I think it's important to note. And I just sold it in February. So through the restaurant, through these small businesses, through Jake and Gino now, I have a lot of family members. I have my friends. I have my community. I have people that count on me. And the restaurant was amazing because I met my wife there. All of my 6 kids worked there. My brother worked there. My mom worked there. And for that, the government and everybody to shut that down and to take that away from me, and then all of a sudden to say it's uncertain that we're not going to open, and then people to guilt me by saying, I want to reopen this place because it's my life, it's my lifeblood. Everyone just take a step back and look at it from my perspective of being a small business owner. And if this was happening to Jake and Gino, where we were brick and mortar and I couldn't open up, and I had all these people counting on me, and it's part of my identity, it's part of what I do every day, part of what I love, and the people that I serve, and all those people that I cooked food for, and all the caterings, and all the weddings, and all the communions and confirmations, and then all of a sudden that's gone the next day. There's a lot of fear. So I just want everyone to be show a little empathy towards the other side. Like I said, not to judge. And for me, that would have been the saddest day of my life. I sold the business because I was done. But if I was still there and I was in the situation, I would be a big mess right now. I wouldn't know where to go. I wouldn't know what to do. So just show a little empathy for all those small business owners out there that are trying to reopen and trying to get their lives put back together, because we don't only do a business just to get paid. We do business becomes part of us. I'm not doing Jake and Gino just to get paid and just to make money. It's become part of me because I know students like Tim Lyons and Tim Mitrakis and Karthik and Josh and all these students out there, and they become part of my family. And for me to all of a sudden one day say I can't serve them, and oh, by the way, I don't know when I'm going to reopen, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear in my life. I want to get my life up and going again. So just please, everyone, take a step back and just think of both sides: the fear from people reopening and the fear from people trying to run their business and trying to get life back together.
And whenever you're looking at something, really analyze the vehicle that you're getting into, Because I think, Gino, it's just it's a blessing for you to have transitioned into multifamily, gotten out of one and then into the other. That's more of a basic human need, and it's just it's very fortunate. So really happy for the family that you guys were able to sort of dodge that bullet.
And I'm glad you said that. I mean, we're going to have a link down below in the show notes. If anybody out there wants to learn how to passively invest with us, sign up to our portal, jakeandgino.com, invest. Go down there, click on the invest button, and learn how to passively invest with us. I think it's important. If you want to learn how to start buying multifamily, click on a link, apply to work with us, see if we're a good fit. This is what we're all about. We're all about empowering people and giving people the right choice to see if multifamily is the right vehicle for you to actually stop what you're doing and maybe transition into something different.
It's awesome, man. Hey, coming from a drug rep and a pizza guy, right?
Yep. Thanks, Jake, for being on this. This is an emotional one for me because this really affects a lot of people. It affects a lot of the small businesses out there. It affects a lot of families, and I just can't wait till we reopen. And once we reopen, let's just go out there. Let's make it happen, everybody.
Come together, folks. Thanks, Gino.
Thanks, Jake.